Good afternoon. This is Mr. Packard.
Hi, Mr. Packard. This is Detective Melissa Sloss. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Good. I don't know. Did you ever have a Takoda Collins in your class? Or just
In my classroom, as his teacher of record, no. I would see Takoda whenever he would have some of his, I don't want to call them meltdowns, but basically whenever he would come to calm down, sometimes he would come to me, other times he would go to a colleague, Linda Catablu. I did teach his brother Khalil, though.
Right. With Khalil, I know that you had made one report at least about Khalil to CSB.
I think there was one that I made alone, and then the others, Miss Ann Shope and I, we usually made a lot of our calls together at the time, and I think they only took one name down for some reason. But
and what was that? Like, what? Do you remember what they were?
Man, it's been a while.
Right. Yeah, because actually I think the report that I see with your name on is from 2015, maybe.
Okay.
Where he had like a sore in his mouth. Khalil did, not Takoda.
Right.
Did you have any dealings with the dad?
Not really. My only dealing with Dad, I can remember walking out of the school building. Mrs. Shope and I were actually going out to get a bite to eat, and Dad was parked out there, parked in our turnaround, and he got out of his car and asked if I was Mr. Packard, and I said yes, and he shook my hand and said that whoever it was at the time that I was teaching, I really enjoyed being in my class, and that's about the only dealing that I remember having with him. Face-to-face, that is. I know that at other times he would come into the office because he was unhappy with the children's services calls that were being made, or was unhappy with us sending Khalil or Takoda to the nurse. Because I'm sure you've gotten this information, he refused to allow us to send either of them to the nurse at a certain point of time before he pulled Takoda.
Right.
But most of the dealings were dealt with in the office at that time.
Okay. As far as Takoda goes and when he would have his meltdowns or whatever, how did he act?
He was a very emotional child. I wouldn't say he was necessarily violent in any way. He would definitely get down on himself and be really sad. He did tend to cry quite a bit. But I mean, he was one of the sweetest children. He loved to make people laugh. Absolutely loved to make people laugh, and just happy-go-lucky all the time, which is something I kind of reflected on over these past couple weeks. Is what an amazing kid he was to be so happy-go-lucky every day, and then find out what he's going home to every day. That baffles me.
Right. Did you in the dealings with him? So he never seemed like he would. Like, you never saw anything that would show, like, self-harm or anything like that with him?
Me personally, no. I have had students. In fact, I had a student last year that when he got mad or he thought he would do something wrong, he would, like, bang his head on his desk. And so we'd have to get him to stop doing that because we didn't want him hurting himself. Takoda, I never saw anything like that whatsoever. Takoda would usually separate himself from all the other students, sometimes the other adults, and just kind of stand and cry, for that matter. I never personally saw him do anything to where he would harm himself.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you talking to me. if obviously you have my number. If anything comes up or you remember anything that you think I need to know, please don't hesitate to call me.
Okay.
Okay? I appreciate
Alrighty.
it, Mr. Packard, and you have
No
a good
problem.
day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Horace Mann School, this is Julie Wiley. How may I help you?
Hi. Yeah, actually, I'm calling to speak with Miss Moss.
I may ask who's calling.
This is Detective Melissa Sloss.
Sloth?
Yeah, Sloss.
Oh, Sloth. Okay, hold on, Miss Sloth.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Miss Sloth, I'm going to transfer you. Can you hold on?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Horace Mann. This is Miss Moss.
Good morning. This is Detective Melissa Sloss. How are you this morning?
I am doing well. How about you?
Pretty good. It's Friday.
Yes, ma'am.
Obviously, I'm calling to talk to you about Takoda Collins.
And I just want to verify before I speak with you because I know the name was sent as Karen Moss, and I'm like, the only Moss here is me, and there's no Karen. So I just wanted to verify to make sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I probably wrote your name down wrong. What is your first name?
My first name is Sherry, Sheri.
Okay. I'm sorry, Miss Moss. And you're the principal, correct?
I am.
Okay. Yeah. Then you're who I want to talk to. So I just got a name mixed up on the email I sent.
Okay.
I just want to touch base with anybody who had any dealings with Takoda Collins and his father, Mr. McLean, and just kind of, to get information. Did you have dealings with Mr. McLean or Takoda at all?
Takoda was a student here under me for second and third grade year, so I came to Horace Mann the 17-18 school year, and so from 17, 18, 18, 19, I should say second grade, third grade, I was here with Takoda.
Okay. Did you have any, what can you tell me about Takoda?
Pretty much Takoda was I would say a well-rounded student here at school, friendly, helpful. He wanted to just kind of please people, so anything that he can do to help out, he would volunteer, especially most of the interaction I had with him, hallway area, cafeteria during lunch duty, when I would go into the classroom doing walkthroughs and just kind of bringing to my attention some things that he had done in regards to if he did well on a class assignment or just kind of sharing out and just wanted to have conversations. So, but when he was here at school, it was pleasant.
Okay. Were you aware of any, I don't know if they come through you or whatever, the reports that teachers kind of made to CSB?
Yes, I was. There were several concerns that were brought to my attention. Of course, as mandated reporters, teachers knew to contact Children's Services. There was a couple of situations that I had as far as with a bus driver coming in and sharing something with me as far as him coming to the bus with a diaper. I informed the bus driver to call Children's Services, and I did as well in turn.
Okay. Were you aware of any behavior concerns that Takoda had as far as being violent or acting out, any of those kind of things?
Just your basic conflict among students. So, as far as an example would be, well, he stepped in front of me in line, or he wouldn't allow me to on a swing on a playground, just those type of things.
Right.
I know that there was a situation when Takoda seemed to be a little aggressive, but when I say that, it was just kind of on the normal type things with students, and that was just a matter of maybe a student saying something inappropriate, then he said something back, then wanting to be aggressive towards another student. But that was because of just the conflict on both ends, not just him wanting to lash out in particular.
Okay. Was there anything, did you have any interaction with his father?
Yes, I did. There were a couple of phone calls. Dad called irate because he did not want his son to go to the clinic for any reason. Takoda had an accident on himself, needed to get changed. Dad was aware of that and was upset. I don't want my son going to the clinic. I'm tired of you all questioning my son. That was over the phone. And then I know when he came in, I saw Dad face-to-face, and that was right before he was withdrawn from school, before Takoda was withdrawn from school, and Dad said he was pulling him out because he was upset with us in regards to calling Children's Services and questioning his son, and he didn't want him here anymore.
Okay. When you said he had an accident on himself, did he have he had an accident? He wet his pants at school?
Wet his pants. Mm-hmm. And then I know that it was noted as far as with body odor, because he would come to school and clothes filthy and just reeking beyond just your normal boy being musty type thing. And so with making sure, and we keep extra clothes here for students, extra underwear, things like that, for students to change if need be. But they will have to come down to the office to change clothes. So, yes.
Okay.
And then one of the other things that I can say is that as far as with extra food, during breakfast or lunch, Takoda would, have extra food because he was hungry. So if any student that appears to be hungry or just didn't get enough, we make provisions for them to receive extra food to eat. We have a share cart, and then also I or one of the other staff members would just kind of make sure that kids have extra food if need be. And then on Fridays we have a backpack program. I know one time in particular, Takoda took food home. Dad was upset about that and was like, my son will not bring food home from school. So.
Oh, and Dad, but after he had brought food home, Dad called and complained?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Okay. Did it ever come to your attention any kind of self-harm that he was doing or anything like that?
No, not at all.
Okay. Okay. Well, I really appreciate you calling me. Like I said, I'm just trying to gather information from anybody who had any interaction with him, just kind of to get an overall, thorough investigation completed.
Okay, and I do have a question. I'm not sure if you're able to respond to this or not. With this being the type of case it is, should we look out, or will we be considered to be subpoenaed to court? I'm not, just kind of have some staff members I know who've spoken with you, have been asking about that.
It is possible. Ultimately, it would come down to what the prosecutors want. I don't know that that's going to happen.
Okay.
We're just trying to get background on Takoda at this point. I mean, a lot of it would be things he said to you, so I don't know that could be, that somebody could testify to that.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't want to say yes or no at this point. but the information that your teachers and the staff have given me is very important.
Right.
You know, to see who Takoda was, because I don't know that. You know,
Right.
to kind of learn more about him. So, but I really appreciate it. That's maybe something I can answer better in the future. I just, like I said, I don't know for sure.
Okay. All right. I just thought I would just inquire. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, and you have a good
Okay.
weekend.
You as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Joni Watson. I'm returning your call or calling you.
Hello.
I got a message to call.
Yeah,
Hi.
I was going to try and call you back. I didn't have your direct number, though. They all showed the same
yeah.
number.
You know, I thought about that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I'm just contacting anybody who had done kind of CSB referrals or had any possible dealings with Takoda Collins.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I had him every year. I had him and his older brother every year because I'm the art teacher. So as an art teacher, I see all the kids every year.
What can you tell me about Takoda?
Takoda was at the heart a really, really sweet little boy. He, you know, he had a few little issues of acting out and stuff. I think now we know why. He was starved for any attention, whether good or bad attention. He frequently smelled. And, you know, I mean, looking back now we know why. Any time, I think, and see, you know, they all run together because it's been so many years, but I can't remember if it was Takoda or his older brother Khalil. It might have been Khalil. I took him out in the hall because he had scratches all around his eye, and I said, "What happened to your eye?" And he said, "Takoda scratched me with a stick," which could be very believable. Looking back now, I'm sure it isn't. And the next day I got a call from his dad saying, "Don't you dare talk to my kids again. Don't you dare question my kids again," you know, in a very threatening manner. The dad was, you know, he would call and scream and yell at us, kind of unhinged. Takoda, you know, at lunchtime and at breakfast always ate a lot. So, you know, in retrospect now, you know, you're never sure whether they ate a lot because they were hungry because they weren't being fed at home or whether they were going through a growing spurt. Because we do have some kids that are very well taken care of but that eat a lot. Looking back now, I think it's probably because, you know, he wasn't being fed well at home. He was really, really thin. And so was his older brother.
You said they were well fed, like at school? I'm sorry.
Well, no. What I mean is, like kids that are well fed at home, and sometimes come to school and want to eat a lot, just might have big appetites. But looking back now, I think it was because Takoda and Khalil just weren't getting enough food at home.
Right.
Like I remember Khalil, and I'm not so sure if Takoda did it because I didn't often work his lunch period. But when Khalil was here, he would put milk and things like that in his coat pockets to take out of the lunchroom with him.
I gotcha.
It's just sad. It's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. Did Takoda ever tell you anything? Or?
No, never. I don't know that he told anybody anything.
Right.
And if you threatened, like if he was acting up in my room and I'd say, "Takoda, I'm going to call your dad," he would just pure fright. "Please don't call my dad, Mrs. Watson. I'll stop." And he would. It was just sad. I mean, he was just so starved for affection and attention.
Yeah. Did he ever exhibit any signs of self-harm stuff when he was before? Okay.
No, never.
Did he ever have any bathroom accidents, or did he use the bathroom?
In my room?
Yeah.
Not in my room. See, I only had him once a week. Every week, once a week. You'd have to ask other teachers that had him every day. He always smelled, though. I mean, like, kids that don't change their clothes or don't wash their clothes and maybe have accidents in their clothes. But, no, I never was aware of him having an accident in my room.
Okay. Okay, well, I appreciate you talking to me.
Sure.
I'm just talking to everybody just to get as
Have
much
you
information
talked to
as I
Megan
can.
Winston?
I did, yes. I did.
Okay.
I talked to her.
Okay, because he really threatened her.
Yeah, I don't think she
he
could
would
remember
call up
exactly
here.
what, but
Yeah.
she did tell me that.
Yeah, because he would call up and scream and yell and cuss and everything else. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. And
Sure. Thank you so much.
if you think of anything that you think I need to know that you remember, please don't hesitate to call me.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Thank
take
you.
care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hello?
Hi, is this Miss Martin?
Yes, it is.
Hi, this is Detective Melissa Sloss with the Dayton Police Department. How are you?
Yes. Fine, thank you.
Hi, ma'am. Yeah, my understanding was that you were a nurse at Horace Mann
Yes.
back when Takoda Collins went there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, I was.
So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. I have contacted any teachers that, I was aware had any contact with him. I just kind of want to see what you remember about Takoda.
Yeah. Well, I think I probably did a CSB referral, but I don't know for sure. I'd have to look at notes. But I don't know what kind of access you have, with Dayton Public. But anytime we write out a referral, we send a copy down to Health Services. So anything I wrote would be in Health Services. And also, anytime I saw him in the clinic, of course, I documented it. And you can run a specific child's name and run all his clinic visits for any length of time. So, to be specific, I'd really have to, look at those. But I do remember one time I saw him in the clinic. I don't know if he fell on the playground. I don't know why he was in the clinic. But it wasn't anything major because I don't call the parents for every little scrape from recess or whatever. And the next day, I got a call from his father, and he was just irate, that I hadn't contacted him. So I told him, because I would see, sometimes 40, 50 kids a day, that unless it was something serious, I usually didn't contact the parents, but if they request that, I would contact them. And he said, I don't want him to come in the clinic, he doesn't need to be seen by a nurse, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, if he gets injured or he's not feeling well, that's what we do. And so he said, well, call me first. And so I said, well, I'll talk to my supervisor. I mean, I don't have a problem with calling you. I don't know if I need to call you first, but, I will certainly call you every time I see him. So then I talked to my supervisor, and she said, well, if that's what he wants, that's okay, go ahead. Well, then I saw Takoda another time, and he said, you're not going to call my dad, are you? Because I just remember he was just so upset, And I said, well, I need to call your dad to just let him know that you fell recess. So I don't remember the specifics. I just remember he was really upset about me calling his dad. But what I do remember is that he was very thin, and I know that people on breakfast would give him extra food and stuff like that, because he was always hungry. And that oftentimes we would wash his clothes because he had a strong smell of urine all the time. And so he would stay in the clinic, and I had extra clothes he would wear while I washed his clothes and put it back on, and I know Dad didn't like that. He didn't like that we were washing his clothes, but, I felt bad for the poor kid. And then he would go in the bathroom and try and clean up with wipes, to just clean himself a little bit. And I don't know if he was urinating on himself or just his clothes weren't getting washed, or if they had a pet that was, sometimes we had kids who'd say, well, a cat peed on my clothes. They wouldn't get washed. So that's why I think I may have referred him for neglect, but I don't remember seeing, cuts or bruises or anything like that I would have referred. And I may have, I just don't recall. I'd have to look at my my papers. But I saw in the paper that a teacher made a referral in May of 2018, and I had total knee surgery in August of that year. April. So I was out the rest of the year, and then I retired. So I wasn't there when they pulled her out of school and all that kind of stuff. I was recuperating, so I wasn't involved in any of that.
Okay.
But if for some reason, somebody gets the records and I could review the records, that would certainly, give, because I was always real precise with my documentation, but I just can't recall specifically,
Right. And I do have the records, so I was able to see, the one that you called in.
Oh, okay, good.
Actually.
Was that for neglect or was it for a bruise? See, I just don't recall the specifics.
Right.
But I'm glad you have a copy of everything.
I'm hoping I have everything.
Yeah. And like I say, I don't know if they ran, the clinic visits, but that would just give you any time you came to the clinic for.
And where does that go?
Well, they changed this a year after I retired that summer. But we had a computer program that we would do our clinic logs. And anytime a kid came into the clinic, we would mark down the time in, the time out, why they were there, if it was a injury, illness, whatever the problem was. And then what we did, if we filed a CSB report, if we washed a wound, if we applied a Band-Aid or gave them a pack of ice or, whatever. And on the old one, and see, I don't know if everything flipped over to the new system that they started after I retired, but you could do a search by horseman and then a specific student, and then you could run every clinic visit that was documented in that program. Okay. And you could just print out that whole document, or any talk that I had with the teacher, that had concerns. I would document that, or any contact with the parent, I would document that in that program. So, and I'm pretty sure they switched because Dayton went to a different server that summer. So I thought, that was a good time to retire because I didn't have to learn any of the new systems.
Right. I wonder, okay, I'm going to have to look into how I can get that.
Yeah, and I don't know, you probably have to get permission from the district, but have you talked to the supervisor of health services, Don Abbott?
No, I have not.
Okay, because she could access that probably, but I don't know if they'd have to get permission from the attorney. And I don't know how that legal end works.
Gotcha.
But she wasn't supervisor at the time. Jenny Noy was, and I know I've talked to Jenny because she remembers talking to the father too because he was just so abrasive. He didn't ask it as like he was concerned because right away I thought, well, now this is really strange. I got a really weird vibe from the way he asked. Well, he didn't. And I think he may have even called the principal and complained to the principal about me before ever talking to me. I don't even know if I talked to him. I just know, because I think maybe the principal came in and said, well, he doesn't want him to be seen in a clinic anymore. I said, well, you can't stop a kid from coming into the clinic. That's
right.
They have the right to care. So, but
actually, it looks like you may have done a referral on Khalil.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Yeah,
because I know I had his brother there for a little bit, and then I'm not sure exactly when he left. So, because like I said, I don't specifically remember seeing any bruises, but I don't. That's been a while ago, and so I was there from 2014 to 2018. So that's why I said I'd have to look at my notes. But any time he was in the clinic, that would be documented. And so Don Abbott is the director of health services, and I don't know exactly what her title is now, but and everybody got new phone numbers too. So see, I can't even give it the number because I'm sure it's not.
No, but that's helpful because I had no idea that existed. So
yeah.
So
that
thorough.
Right. So that might give you some insight about, because I don't remember seeing him often. He was, like I said, he was always but he was a kid that was always in school because it was a safe place for him. And he was a really nice little kid. It's just, when I heard that, I just couldn't believe it. It was just terrible. So, But and then one of the pairs that I was talking to reminded me that his father had pulled a gun on one of the bus drivers, and I don't know if that's documented anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think it was reported to us.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was maybe reported internally.
Right.
But
yeah,
I don't show anything that was reported.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't hear it specifically. I remember at the time people were talking about it. So I don't know if it happened at the bus stop. I mean, I'm sure it would have had to happen at the bus stop, and I don't know who his bus driver was or anything. But yeah, now you think that's something that would be reported to the police?
Yeah, you would think, but not always did we get.
No, you sure don't. So, but anyway, I'm sorry I can't be more specific. I just, I don't want to say anything that maybe didn't happen. So I don't want to be real specific.
I really I appreciate you talking to me, and I know it's been a while.
Yeah, but like I say, if there's a way that you can get those records from Dawn Abbott, if you call like just the main number and ask for health services, that would ring to her office. And, like she may say, well, I have to talk to my supervisor first or whatever. But that is available because I know I would do that sometimes to see, because I had a couple of kids that have real bad asthma. And at the end of the year, I do a search and you say, now, actually, how many times did I see them? How many minutes did I spend with this one student that, asthma isn't managed very well or something like that. So it was a helpful tool.
Awesome. Okay. Well, and that is actually very helpful. So
good.
I'm going to reach out to her and see what I need to do to get that.
Okay, great. Well, if there's anything else I can do, if you want me to review records or interpret what's down there or anything else, just let me know. I can come in or we can do it by phone.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, is this Dawn?
Yep.
Dawn, I don't want to butcher your last name. How do you pronounce your last name?
Al-Mutahan.
Al-Mutahan. Okay. This is Detective Melissa Sloss with the Dayton Police Department.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk to you. Obviously, I'm the investigator on this case with Takoda Collins. So I'm trying to just get as much information as I can, okay? I look for facts. That's kind of what I do.
Right.
Did you have interaction with Takoda?
Did I have what?
Interaction. Like, did you ever see Takoda?
Maybe once a year. They came up for Christmas, usually.
Okay. I know that Amanda talked to you pretty frequently. Did you ever really talk to Jenny while she was living with them?
Not very often, no.
Okay. Did Amanda ever voice concerns to you about Takoda?
She said a few things, like she tried to get help for him, and everybody turned her down. They said he was too young.
Okay. Did she tell you who she tried to get help from?
No.
Okay.
Well, one was the hospital. The time that he jumped out the window.
Okay. Did she mention to you what was going on with him that they needed help for?
Oh, there was incidences where she would find him. She mentioned one time she found him dancing on the table with his older brother, and he was naked, and he had his own finger up his butt. There was another time she told me that she caught him trying to stick a dog toy up his butt. She caught him like banging his head on the wall for no reason. And she just told me stuff like that.
Well, let me ask you, Dawn, when did she tell you this? Did she tell you this after Al was already locked up, or did she tell you this in the past?
No, that was way before that.
Okay. Did she tell you anything about the older brother?
No.
Okay. And you didn't talk to Jenny very much, right?
No.
Okay. I just want to kind of understand. When was the last time that you saw Takoda?
What's it been, a couple of years?
A couple of years. Okay.
A couple of years, I think, since he's been up here, yeah.
Okay. Did she ever talk about him to you within that time? Like,
what do you mean?
I mean, so have you discussed Takoda with her at all from a couple of years of you not seeing him? Did she talk about him at all? Or did she just kind of talk about JoJo?
More on JoJo, but, I mean, I'd ask her how Dakota was doing, and she'd always say he's fine.
Okay.
But, I mean, that's as far as it went.
Okay. And you never talked to Takoda, though?
No, only when he was here.
Right. Okay. As far as Al goes, I'm trying to figure out a little bit about him.
I really don't know much about him. When they come up, it's only for a couple days. I mean, I really don't talk to him. I spend time with my girls when they come up, you know.
Gotcha.
And sometimes he didn't even come up. He stayed home, you know, so.
Okay. Let's see what else. We did make sure that Jenny had your phone number here.
She called me once, and that was I don't even know. That's been a couple weeks ago already.
Yeah, because I don't think she knew your number.
Probably not. She probably don't remember, kind of with her ADHD and all that. So
did she have issues when she was there? I mean, as far as when talking about like mental health stuff, I mean, is it just like ADHD?
When she was down there, Amanda took her to the doctor, I guess, and they found out she was bipolar. She's always been suicidal. She's been depressed. I mean, she was here sometimes depressed, but it got worse as she went down there, I think.
Is that
she always
coming
told
from?
Me she wanted.
I'm sorry. Was that coming from her or coming from Amanda?
What's that?
That she was like depressed and all that when she
well,
was.
It's coming from me.
No, but I'm saying
things
like
that I've noticed.
Oh, okay. Okay, like actual notice in her.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, there was times that she would come up and she would say she didn't want to go back. She always would cry, I don't want to go back. But she had, she wanted to because of her dog. Because we don't like pit bulls, so we don't allow pit bulls here. And so that was the only holdback for her.
Okay.
Or she would have been back here with us.
Well, I feel like Jenny was a little bit mistreated too.
I have a feeling too. To my knowledge, I mean, what I think both my girls were threatened in some way from him. I don't know. I just have that feeling. And they're both afraid to say anything because they don't, because my Amanda is so in love with this guy. It's not funny. I've been trying to tell her he's not getting out. He's in there for good. I said, move on with your life. If you have anything on him, tell them.
Right.
'Cause to me, I don't know. I feel uneasy about this whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate you talking to me. Obviously I'm a fact finder, so I want to know. Obviously, I don't know them. I didn't know them until this happened. So then coming into the investigation, that's why I need to talk to people who know them before this, and kind of throughout. I mean, obviously you're their mother, so you would know them better than anybody. And as far as Takoda goes, I mean, obviously Amanda and Al had custody of him for a while.
Right.
Did you see him more frequently, obviously, back when he had first got him?
Yeah, when they first got him, he would come up with them all the time. But Amanda and Jenny came up I think the first or second week in September of this year here, or this last year. And they left both boys home with Al.
Right.
And they were here for like a week. So, I mean, a lot of that could have happened when the girls were here. I don't know.
Right. Did
But like
Jenny...
I told Amanda...
Sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me?
Go ahead.
I mean, if I knew this was going on, I would have got that kid out of there a long time ago.
Right. I truly believe that. Now, I'm wondering, did Jenny mention anything to you when she was home this time? I know you said before there was times where she said she didn't want to go back. Did she voice any concerns when she was there this past time in September?
No. She just said she didn't want to go back, and that's every time she's here, but she never said much more than that.
Okay. Which dog was hers?
Oh, which dog is Jenny's? The Nico, the big blue male.
Nico?
Yeah, Nico.
Oh, Nico. Okay. Okay. Well, if you have any questions or if you have any information you think I need to know, this is my direct line, and I am the detective on this case.
Okay.
So if I can help you with anything, don't hesitate to call me. And if there are questions that I can answer, I have no problem answering them for you.
All right. So, I mean, is it looking not good for my girls or what? I'm just scared for my girls.
I get that. It's not looking good because it went on for a long time and they had knowledge of it. Now
Right.
It could come down to where they have to testify against him or something along those lines.
Mhm. Yeah. And her lawyer's already told her that, but I even talked to her about it, and she says she will not testify against him because she loves him so much. Well, she needs to wake up.
Well, I think that she's going to learn things about Al that she may not know, even. I mean,
right.
Al wasn't all just about Amanda, and
right.
Unfortunately, I think it was a lot more one way, and not to kind of, I think she's kind of probably going through a lot right now, but.
Right. Because, I mean, I'll tell you something. I mean, was it probably a few years ago? I know Amanda came up and Al stayed home, and she had a bruise on her eye, and she told us that she ran into a pole. We all knew better because you don't get a perfectly round bruise from running into a pole. I think he was hitting her.
Yeah. And that probably was true. And,
right.
But
she's so in love with him, she's not going to, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, hopefully she'll come to her senses at some point. I mean, obviously a 10-year-old little boy died, and that's not normal.
Right.
So we know quite a bit happened, and it
right.
wasn't, just a short amount of time. So, it's not like it just happened in one day and somebody wasn't home. So.
Right.
But yeah. So do you have any other questions for me? I mean, I'll answer them if I can.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, if you come up with anything, like I said, don't hesitate to call me. If I'm not at my desk, I will call you back as soon as I can.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, and you have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, this is Mac Ramsey. I left a message on my machine or my voicemail.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Good. Hey, I actually was calling in regards to Al-Mutahan McLean. I probably butchered his name, but Al McLean.
Yes, ma'am.
My understanding is that you knew him a little bit, or you worked with him.
I worked with him. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what can you tell me about him?
As far as what his work ethic?
Well, maybe work ethic, but also, do you know anything? Did you ever hear him talk about his children or?
Oh, definitely. He talks about. As a matter of fact, he had asked me for I'd say a period of a couple of weeks, asked me how I disciplined my children and how he would give me a scenario and how I would deal with that scenario. And I would tell him flat out, So I knew he was having issues with his one child. He didn't go into too much detail other than the fact that he would give me a scenario. One of them, in fact, was his kid was putting holes in the walls at his house and was out of control. And I told him, that if it was that bad, that he probably should contact the police, because he told me no matter what he did, this kid was out of control. And I told him that, you should probably contact the police if it's that bad. And then he would ask me how I disciplined my children. And I said, I would ask him in what way. And he would say, let's say, and he would give me a scenario, and I'd tell him how I would discipline my kids.
Okay. Do you remember any other scenarios that he gave you?
Not off the top of my head. The one about putting the holes in the walls was the biggest one that I do remember.
Okay. Did he ever tell you he called the police or anything?
No, he never did. He kind of kept to himself. He would come out to like breaks, and that's when he would talk to me, was like at lunchtime or at break when we would all be out smoking. He would kind of hang out by us, and then if nobody was around, that's when he'd ask me how I would discipline my kids. But other than that, he was kind of kept to himself. I wouldn't say a recluse, because he did come out to break with us, but he wouldn't talk much.
Did he ever mention how he disciplined his kids?
No, not at all.
How long ago was that?
I would say because he only worked last spring. He worked here, I think, until about May, and then he got hired on a little bit before I did, and then he more or less walked out here. He wasn't doing well in his job. His work ethic was terrible, and he had a job that was shipping out one day, and it was wrong, and he pretty much just grabbed his tools and left.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that... Did you ever meet his girlfriend Amanda or anything?
No, we seen her because she would pick him up. He never drove. He always had her bring him and pick him up from work. As far as meeting her, no, but I saw her, sitting in the car.
Okay. Okay. Did he ever, I don't know, smell like alcohol or anything like that?
No, because my understanding is he was on probation. There were a couple times where he had to take PTO, which is personal time off, because he had to, in my understanding, serve time on the weekends in jail for whatever case. But as far if he did smell like alcohol, I never noticed. He was very unhygienic to the point where the team lead out here would get into him with it about his hygiene and how he smelled. We'd actually turn the ceiling fans on because he smelled so bad.
Really? What did he smell like?
EO.
Oh, really? Okay. Not urine or anything.
He had dreads. I don't know if he still does or not, but he had dreads, and his dreads smelled terrible.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted to work with him because he smelled bad, and, his work ethic was absolutely terrible.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Ramsey, well, I really, really appreciate you talking to me. I'm just trying to do a thorough investigation. So if anything comes up or, anybody who's had any interaction with any of the parties, of course I want to talk to them. So.
Right, I understand.
Well, if anything comes up or you remember anything that you think I need to know, please don't hesitate to call me.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you, sir, so much for getting back.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.